Hello and welcome to this video on astrobiology. And to be clear, we want to say that this is astrobiology, not astrology. Astrology is pseudoscientific nonsense, whereas astrobiology is notably less nonsensical, but possibly just as silly for now. That is unless you count tardigrades in space or astronauts. Astrobiology is an interdisciplinary scientific field. It studies the origin, evolution, distribution, and future of life in the universe, rather obviously beyond Earth. It integrates principles from biology, chemistry, physics, astronomy, planetary sciences, and geology to address fundamental questions about life's existence beyond Earth, the conditions required for life, and the potential for life in various cosmic environments. Astrobiology seeks to understand whether life is a unique phenomenon confined to Earth or a common outcome of cosmic processes, and it explores the habitability of other planets, moons, and celestial bodies. This video covers the scope of astrobiology, its key research areas, methodologies, and significance. There is a bibliography at the end if you're interested in seeing where we got some of our information from. Astrobiology addresses three primary questions. How does life begin and evolve? This obviously involves studying the chemical and biological process that lead to the emergence of life, including prebiotic chemistry and transition from simple organic molecules to self-replicating systems. And then it progresses to the question of does life exist elsewhere in the universe? Astrobiology investigates the potential for life on other planets, moons, or exoplanets by assessing their habitability and searching for biosignatures, indicators of past and or present life. And finally, what is the future of life on Earth and beyond? This includes things like understanding how life adapts to extreme environments, how humanity might colonize space, and the implications of discovering extraterrestrial life. Astrobiology is inherently interdisciplinary. You need to draw on things like biology to understand life's mechanisms, chemistry to understand the organic molecules and reactions to necessary life, astronomy to identify habitable environments in the cosmos, planetary science to study the geology and atmosphere of celestial bodies, and geology to examine Earth's early environment and analyze or look for analogues in extraterrestrial conditions. Astrobiology investigates how life emerged on Earth to start with. It focuses on prebiotic chemistry, the formation of organic molecules like amino acids and nucleotides in the primordial soup conditions. The Miller-Urey experiment demonstrates that simple molecules like methane and ammonia, such as lightning or plasma discharges, can theoretically, and in practice with experiments, produce amino acids, suggesting a pathway for life's building blocks. Researchers have also explored places like hydrothermal vents and other extreme environments as potential cradles for life. These sites are of interest because they provide the necessary energy and chemical gradients to be conducive to complex molecule formation. We then need to look at habitability. Habitability refers to conditions necessary for life to arise and persist. The name is kind of self-explanatory if you're familiar with it, but still. Habitability is typically defined by the presence of liquid water, energy sources like sunlight or chemical energy, and the essential elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Astrobiologists have instead studied Earth's extreme environments, such as deep-sea vents, Antarctic dry alleys, and acidic hot springs, as analogues for extraterrestrial habitats that meet these requirements. Mars's ancient riverbeds and subsurface are an example of this. The ice there would suggest past habitability, while Jupiter's moon Europa, with its subsurface ocean, is a prime target for current habitability studies. Well, future habitability studies, but very much current observation. We've yet to actually get a decent exploration of Europa going. Plus, the last time we considered this, they developed a movie all about aliens sending us warning signs. The search for life beyond Earth involves direct exploration in some cases, like with the Mars rover, but mostly remote observations. The spectroscopy of exoplanet atmospheres are a very common study method, and the detection of biosignatures. Biosignatures include things like gases, methane, oxygen, and similar in planetary atmospheres, looking for microbial fossils or organic molecules, and missions like NASA's Perseverance rover collect samples from Mars's Jezero crater to search for these signs of ancient microbial life. The James Webb Space Telescope continues to enable analysis of exoplanet atmosphere for potential biosignatures, or even methane. And then we have exoplanet studies. These are obviously much further out. and the discovery of thousands of exoplanets since the 1990s has expanded the scope of astrobiology studies. An example of prioritizing, let's say, planets in the habitable zone is the upcoming Europa Clipper mission. What that's going to look at is Europa's ocean and surface for signs of habitability. Calling it an exoplanet's a little bit generous given it's basically a moon of Jupiter, but theoretically yes. Astrobiology is also informing human space exploration, mostly looking at how life survives in extreme environments and conditions. Radiation-heavy space environments are a common example, which is where we bring in tardigrades, and it's why research on extremophiles, organisms thriving in harsh environmental conditions on Earth, act as a guide or strategy for protecting astronauts and sustaining life in space colonies. We've mentioned tardigrades, but that's because they can survive extreme dehydration, radiation, and possibly even inform bioregenerative life support systems. Possibly being the operative word there. Translation doesn't work very well for most species to humans. Astrobiology employs a diverse range of methods. You obviously have things like laboratory experiments that simulate primordial conditions. The Miller-Urey experiment is the most commonly cited example. And then you have field studies. Studies looking at Earth's extreme environment as analogues for these extraterrestrial habitats. The space missions are even more rare again, mostly because, well, it involves deploying rovers, landers, and orbiters to various planetary surfaces and atmospheres, Perseverance, Europa Clipper, and so on. These are not very common, very expensive, and they take a very long time to do what they're going to do. Telescopic observations are arguably more frequently done, simply because telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope are able to analyze exoplanet atmospheres, provide a lot of data, and don't necessarily require the use of new equipment or massive expense, relative to what's already being used anyway or expended. Then we have interdisciplinary modeling. This takes data from multiple fields and tries to simulate planetary climates, chemical evolution, and habitability. In terms of significance, astrobiology will effectively reshape our understanding of life's place in the universe, if it ever gets anywhere. It addresses the rather profound philosophical question about how unique humanity is, and whether or not we are actually alone in the universe. But it also informs practical challenges around space exploration and planetary protection. For example, preventing contamination of celestial bodies, whether or not we might eventually discover some sort of extraterrestrial life, and that would have significant implications for not just science, but philosophy and society. And of course, Earth's extreme life forms enhance our ability to sustain human presence in space. But there are always challenges, and there's definitely a lot of future research, because there's always future research when it comes to any kind of science. Astrobiology faces challenges like the obvious ambiguity of biosignatures. For example, methane can have very much non-biological sources, so finding it on a planet doesn't necessarily mean there's life, it just means there might be life. And might is a very big question. Then we have the vast distances to the exoplanets in question. This basically means that direct exploration is incredibly limited. Some of the future advancements might help, for example, more sensitive telescopes, some of the sample return missions from Mars, and missions to ocean worlds like Europa and Enceladus. And then you have the interdisciplinary collaboration and the technological innovation. These are hopefully going to drive progress, hopefully being a key word there. Overall, astrobiology is a dynamic field that will bridge multiple disciplines to explore life's origin, potential, and future across the cosmos. By studying Earth's extreme environment and simulating prebiotic chemistry and exploring other worlds, astrobiology seeks to answer whether life is a cosmic rarity or a universal phenomena, and ongoing missions and future discoveries are hopefully going to deepen our understanding of life's place in the universe. Although if they really want to explore something like primordial soup and stress, they could just observe students in a high school. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And please do comment any questions, suggestions, or thoughts you have below.